Mercedes has launched a new CLA45 AMG, and like the title of this video suggests, I do think this car took one for the team, so to speak, for the rest of the Mercedes lineup. Now the new CLA45 AMG has gone fully electric, which is different than the last generation, which we'll take a look at during this video. Here's a picture of it right now. That's the car that this replaced. Great looking car. This new car definitely borrowed a lot of looks from the new AMG GT 4-door, which you're seeing right now, and we'll talk about where it gets its inspiration from as well. So welcome back to Exotics Anonymous. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's take a look at the new CLA45, and then we will discuss what I'm talking about here with taking one for the team. So the car does look good, I will say. It's not a bad looking car by any means, but the big kicker is that Mercedes 4-cylinder engine is now gone. That was very loved in the CLA and GLA 45 and overseas in Europe, the A45 AMG. Me personally, I've always been a big Mercedes V8 fan, like huge. It's one of my favorite engines they've put in any car. And the first time I drove a GLA 45, I was expecting just to not like it. I'm like, what am I going to like this 4-cylinder for? It was one of the most fun cars I've ever driven. That 4-cylinder Mercedes engine had so much character. It was the most powerful 4-cylinder ever made at the time, and I believe it still holds that record. I don't think anybody's made a more powerful one. There's a reason Lotus wanted to use that engine in their cars as well. You know, there was their supercharged Toyota V6, and the Mercedes 4-cylinder was the options. As you can see, this new CLA45 also comes in a wagon format if you so choose, or shooting brake is probably the proper term. But yeah, either sedan or shooting brake. And it's nice to give you options for it. In Europe, they've always had a CLA shooting brake option. In America, we don't get that, but that is an option once again, and it is fully electric. I don't even want to know how heavy this one is because it's probably very heavy. But I find it interesting that the horsepower output of this car is the exact same as the 4-cylinder hybrid C63 that we've had the last couple years that nobody really wanted. This one's fully electric and doesn't have an engine at all, but it does mimic that 4-cylinder engine sound, which if you haven't seen already, the new AMG GT 4-door mimics the 4-liter V8 sound. So in this car, they're mimicking the 4-cylinder sound as it replaced the 4-cylinder AMG car. So that's where we're at with the new car. 670 horsepower. They say 0 to 60 in like 2.7 seconds. It's probably a little faster than that. It's definitely fast. There's no doubt it's fast. I mean, it makes the same power as the current BMW M5 V8 twin-turbo hybrid car does. So they gave it plenty of performance, I think, because they know that getting rid of that engine that there is a serious following for is a big deal. And so they tried to mimic the engine with like the seats that can shake and make it feel like the car is vibrating, and the sound of the 4-cylinder. They recorded over 1,600 individual audio files, so no matter what driving situation you're in, you can always have the right sound for that time. So I'm sure as far as these, fake systems go, this Mercedes one is probably the best. I know the Hyundai one is pretty good as well, but Mercedes has had more time to work on it, and they have better engines to mimic. So I would imagine it's pretty good as far as electric car goes. It's probably this and that AMG GT 4-door are probably the two most exciting electric cars you can buy, but it's just something that, obviously car people might not be particularly into. So that's the overall, facts and figures overlook of this new Mercedes CLA45 AMG. Now let's talk about why I'm saying I think this car kind of took one for the team, because I think what happened here was Mercedes is in a difficult situation where they're in Europe and they have to comply with the EU 7 regulations, and those new regulations have made it very difficult for specifically that 4-cylinder engine to be homologated anymore. The small engine with the turbos with a lot of boost through it, just apparently emissions wise, does not work with these new EU 7 situation. Whereas a larger engine like the V8 with less, boost and everything, I guess, creates less emissions roughly, is my basic understanding of it. And I think Mercedes decided to make this model electric. They kind of decided to get rid of their 4-cylinder AMGs completely and give us the V8 AMGs. If you'll notice, we just had new GLE and GLS 63s. We're expecting a new E63 next year, which wasn't even supposed to happen in the first place. A new S63 is just around the corner that I'm hearing isn't even going to have a hybrid system anymore. So I'm going to make a dedicated video to that, because that's a big deal, because they're pulling a hybrid system out of a car that already has it as is right now, which is very interesting. I don't love these new Mercedes interiors that you're seeing right now with the giant screen across the dashboard, but it is better than what they did the last couple of years, but it's still not as good as what they were doing in like 2019. So hopefully they're working back in the right direction. I do know Gordon Wagner is no longer with AMG, or Mercedes in general, as their chief designer, so I'm sure this new person is probably trying to shift things up a bit, and I think we'll see a lot of changes at Mercedes in the current years. So basically, I think the decision that Mercedes had to make was, do we keep making our 4-cylinder AMGs and the 6-cylinder ones that are typically in the 53 models and scale back on their largest engine, the V8, or I think they decided to go the route of complying with these new EU 7 emissions they're going to make the V8 engine again. It's coming back quickly. We've already seen it in a couple of cars. We're going to see it in a few more over the next year or two. And it's funny because that is probably what's going on here, but they also decided to make this GT 4-door that you're seeing right now electric as well. You can see the back of the car, especially this new CLA45, pulls a lot of design cues from, but they made this car electric, interestingly, and they haven't announced a V8 version yet. I hope there's a V8 one coming, because this current GT63S V8 is one of the best cars Mercedes has ever made, the 4-door one. But the looks of this one aren't to love. Obviously, the new CLA is a little better looking, but, you know, not significantly different. But I think we're going to be getting V8s, and we're not going to be getting these 4-cylinders anymore. I think we'll still get some of the 53 models with the inline 6-cylinder engine hybrid situation. So we'll be getting the larger engines, which I think Mercedes made the tough choice, killed the smaller engines for their car enthusiast lovers, gave us the big V8s and the 6-cylinders, and I think that is the right choice overall. It's just sad because the CLA45 of the prior generation really was such a great car. We're going to take a look at it again in a second here. And it had a serious enthusiast following for basically all the cars with that engine in it. So it is kind of sad to see, but I think we all preferred them to keep making their legendary V8 engine and keep making the big boy AMGs and, you know, get rid of these ones if they have to. Here's that last generation CLA45 that this car replaces. This was a really great looking car. I mean, it's really like a baby GT63 S 4-door of that time, which I guess the new one is as well. It's just unfortunately the new GT 4-door isn't as good looking as the old GT 4-door was. But this car was great. The wheels were perfect even. And this car had the peak interior from Mercedes, I would say, as well. We'll see it in a second here, at least with the steering wheel. The steering wheel was fantastic from this generation, whereas the new one is just, something doesn't hit the same way. But yeah, this car was great looking. The new one is not terrible looking, but it's definitely not the worst thing Mercedes has made recently, but it's not great looking either. And just the fully electric part is really upsetting. And I have learned as well, we're not even going to get this car in the USA, which I think tells us that Mercedes knows nobody here would have interest in it. Here's that great steering wheel I was talking about a second ago. Mercedes knows nobody in the USA market would have interest in this car, I think, especially based on how badly the C63 sold here with the 4-cylinder hybrid setup. They're like, we're not even going to try the electric one. So I think that's probably a sign that they had to do this for emissions reasons, and we're going to be getting great V8s. I can't wait to see a new E63 next year and a new S63, I think, this year, from what I understand. And I think this was just a necessary choice that Mercedes concluded was the only way to save the V8s and the 6-cylinders. They had to get rid of the 4-cylinders. I almost kind of wish they kept the 4-cylinder and nixed the 6-cylinder in between, because nobody really wants the 53 models anyways. At least the 4-cylinders made these smaller Mercedes more exciting. But they probably couldn't do that because the V6 goes in so many other cars, especially the non-AMGs like the S500 S-classes and some of the the E400s or whatever they are right now. They probably just couldn't get rid of the 6-cylinder logistically, so the 4 probably had to go. But I think that's generally what's going on here. So what do you guys think of this new CLA45 AMG? Mercedes always does a pretty good job with whatever they're launching, but I think this new one, it looks pretty good, but I think they had to make the tough choice to get rid of that great powertrain it used to have, and it is what it is. So at least we'll continue to get V8s. Please like and subscribe to this video for me if you haven't already. I stayed up late at night to make this for you guys. All these new cars are coming out like the middle of the night for the US market, so I'm working hard for you, but please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.